Hello, hello. We're
Hello,
back with
Simone.
Meeting the Haveners. And today is Marilyn Kopasz. Is it how I say it right?
It's Kopasz, so it has
Kopasz.
like an S sound at the end.
Okay, so it's Kopasz.
Yes.
And I met Marilyn at the Havening conference in New Zealand. And I was impressed by her story, how she got into havening. And that's the reason why we're here to listen to the haveners, how they got into it, what's exciting them about havening. So I'm so happy to have you here on the call, Marilyn.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. I think this is a really wonderful thing you're doing. I would love to hear more about how people got involved. So I'm happy to share my story and look forward to hearing other people's.
Lovely, lovely. Yes, so how did you get into havening? How was this coming into your life?
Um, So without going into a lot of detail, I have a history of different types of trauma in my life. And back in 2011, there was yet another thing that was piling on. And I, did what most people did. And I looked into talk therapy. And the first therapist, talked more about her trauma. And maybe she was just trying to relate to me. But I mean, we literally spent like half the session talking about what she had gone through. So that relationship ended, and then it took me a while to get another, therapist. But again, after several weeks, it just nothing seemed to budge. And then I was like, okay, well, there's got to be something out there. So I started looking at complementary or alternative practices. I learned hypnosis, um, and that actually helped me a lot with a shoulder injury. Um, and and I guess I would say it scratched the surface of some of the trauma. Um, and then I just kept learning more and more. I went through a course on thought field therapy, TFT, and also EFT, emotional freedom techniques, tapping, which again was somewhat helpful, but wasn't dramatic. I learned about chakras. I mean, I was gonna do anything, to
It
find help.
sounds like you were really looking for something that could help you in the situation you were, huh?
Well, it wasn't just me, because at that point I had started a small business
Oh,
and hearing my clients and things that were helping them, things that weren't. So for both myself and clients. And a friend of mine who was going through getting his master's in social work had said, "Hey, Marilyn, in school somebody had talked about havening." And I was like, "Really?" And I said, "No, no, not right now, because I'm learning other things." You can only put so much on your plate, right? So a year passed, and he said, "Hey, Marilyn, I heard again about this havening thing." And I thought, well, I'm not learning anything else. Why not? So I took the havening training, and we practice with each other as you become a practitioner, and case studies and helping people out. And I remember at one point, my SEDS had gone down, and I went, I wonder how long this will last. I was excited, I was happy, but a little questioning as far as, is this going to last? And as the days and weeks were passing, and I wasn't being triggered like I used to be triggered, then I got really excited about havening and hearing my clients, their results. And it seemed to be lasting for them. And I was just so captivated by how is this working. And I do tend to be more on the science side of things, even in hypnosis. I tend to follow Dr. David Spiegel, out of Stanford, in California. So I want to hear the neuroscience behind it, the science behind it, not just something that cannot be pointed to. And the fact that, Dr. Ron had done all this research and there is science behind it, and there were some studies, peer-reviewed studies, and they're continuing, that really excited me. Um, and then after several years, I was like, I want to bring this to other people, and bring more people in. And so then I, signed up to be a trainer. And still, I mean, it's part of it is the science behind it. Um, and it seems like almost every year there's some sort of study, coming out providing the validity. So it's not just that people seem to be doing better, but we're able to kind of point to certain things that are happening within our biology, the brain body connection. And I think we are chemical, emotional, chemical, electrical beings, and that when the neuron fires, what type of neurotransmitter, chemicals are being released that can cause a chain reaction. Then we add in, the distractions, other things, healing really can occur. So that's my
So did
story.
it, so did it, because we started off, you're piling up trauma in your own system. Do you have a sense that it did help you on your own journey or on your own healing process?
Oh, yeah,
Mm,
absolutely. I mean, and I'm sorry, I probably should have gone into it. After I went through the practitioner training and I did, my SED was lowered, and I was definitely feeling different. And I
mm,
was like, but how long is this going to last?
mm,
Because these were things that I had tried to um, overcome, put in my past to feel at peace with. And all the other things that I had tried using in the past didn't seem to work.
mm,
But this, I did feel the relief,
mm,
but it was like, is this going to stay?
mm,
And it's been wonderful when I come up to certain things that in the past would trigger me. Now, I'll hear it, I'll experience, he, usually hear something, and I'm like, huh, whatever. And I
mm,
just move on.
mm.
And that is such a huge thing, not to go back to that dark place, not to go back, but to feel stabilized.
Yes.
And when you sense your own healing, your own stabilization, and you realize this is possible, and how many people are out there that have not yet experienced that? I
Yeah.
think this is amazing.
So where now you became like a health professional, and I think it's your second career, isn't it? And and so w are you bringing it? Do you have clients coming in, or are you going into institutions? Are you? What's your clientele?
So, 3 years ago, I went to Emory to get a health and wellness coach certification because, again, it's a lot of it is the biology behind things. When you're perpetually ill, it can affect your sense of self. That in and of itself is not necessarily a trauma, unless it was a traumatic event that affected your health. Um, and then I wanted to understand more about trauma. So I went back to school 2 years ago to get a master's of education, specifically in trauma-informed care.
Mm,
And that again, it's like my lens just keeps opening and opening. And I am 99% sure I'm going back to school again in May for a PhD in health sciences, specifically trauma care.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's important that we have in our group, we have some people that are focused on, the science, the hard evidence side of it, but then you have the other side that maybe is more of, we're not 100% sure why this works. Maybe it's a spiritual aspect, maybe it's something else. But Havening can offer, these different approaches. I tend to be on maybe one side, more of the practical side. Um, and that's where my passion is, because I really want to help people. I want to focus in on certain groups of people that um, don't necessarily get the attention.
Mhm.
I In 2001, I was just outside the Pentagon when the terrorist attack happened. And while I was not inside the Pentagon, my first office was Ground Zero. And my very best friend, who is my sister, except for biology, she was in the Pentagon at the time, and I lost a lot of people. And seeing the um, the effects that had traumatic effects, not only on the workers, but then the first responders, the news people that were coming in to cover, that event, and how that affected them year after year. And now, literally, some have not gotten over it decades later. I think, a lot of attention needs to be given, because I don't know what it's like in other, countries, but I think here there's a lot of, well, that happened a long time ago. Just get over it. Just forget
Mhm.
about it.
Yes.
And you can't do that when it affects you,
Yeah.
at such a deep level. And so I want to learn more about how to reach people. Our military, so Pentagon, I've worked for the military, people that, are kind of told to tough it out. How do you reach them saying you are still enough, even though
Mm.
you need help?
Mm.
Um, so, so yeah, there's a lot of layers behind, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. Um, so
Mm. And listening to you, what comes across with your experiences and also having friends and colleagues going through the same experience. It's it's something about a gentle, heartfelt way of dealing with it instead of just get over it, which is not possible. It's a nice saying, but it's just not possible. And then it needs I would say, a compassionate, loving, caring approach. And with the evening, we have it in our hands, so we can support. And even if touch is too much, we can still invite people to self-soothe, self-touch, and guide them through, yeah, a way that is soothing for them.
yeah, and I think it is important to meet them where they are. I think people with past experiences have unique abilities um, to resonate, with people in similar situation. I mean, having spent many, many decades working for the military, I know the lingo. I mean, I've done a lot. And so being able to, talk to them in their language to understand what's going on. Recently, I used the example of, I'm sure there are wonderful obstetricians out there that are men, but if you have not pushed a baby out of your body, you don't really understand it.
Mhm.
It's different. Um, so, for people, um, that maybe were in the news media. They understand what it's like to have something going around them and that you're on the air and you've got to, talk about it. You were a doctor, you understand the pressures, that doctors may have. Everybody brings a certain experience. Maybe you were a teacher at an indigenous school, and some of what that community deals with. You have a certain insight, and I think that does bring, compassion. You can link up better. And then havening then just provides that, as you had said, that additional ability to be very gentle. But it's not babying them. It's just a gentle approach, using their senses, to downregulate, to help calm so that they can move forward.
Yes.
So that was a really good comment. Thank you, Simone.
So, I mean, listening to that, what you just mentioned, and also having spent time with you in New Zealand, I'm curious, what's maybe the most exciting, or what is, yeah, doesn't have to be the most exciting, but what's exciting you about the Havening? You mentioned about the neuroscience, and there's a lot of excitement I can tell. Um, what is it that you want your practitioners to really get from what you're sharing with them?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, I think I think a lot of people sign up with a hope that this will be helpful.
Mm,
Um, but it is, as you're experiencing it, that kind of that aha moment. Like, they start off, I don't understand why, doing this, different things, is going to work. But then when that switch is made, let me give you an example. So, last year I met with a group of teachers at a conference, and I did, basically an intro to havening. And, a lot of the folks were in the room, a little bit not sure, what is this? This sounds weird. Psychosensory. What does that mean? And as I was going through, I mean, just seeing how they were able to relax and lean into what was going on. And then I was giving examples like in the morning, you don't know these kids that are coming into your classroom. What is their household like? Did they get to eat that morning? Was there any, mental, emotional, physical abuse before they got into school? So, how would it be if you could start the day off? You know, maybe they sing the song, maybe, whatever the school requires, but then, teaching them, a haven a technique. I open my mind to learning. You're at school, and then I open my heart and, I tell them you can use, whatever words. I open my heart, to friendship, or maybe it's possibilities. I mean, you're not rigid, and I choose to feel, safe, excited. Again, whatever the teacher wants, and just seeing a lot of the teachers go, you know, grasping this possibility. And then how long is this going to take? And I said, a minute, or it could be longer. It's whatever you want. And then they start seeing if you can, regulate, these students early on. And it's easy. I mean, kindergartners can do it. And as, older students, okay, maybe they're not, they're too cool to do a lot of stuff, but, just maybe, their hands. And they may not speak it out loud, but if you're saying it, they're hearing what you're saying, and it can make an impact. Um, just the reaction, from these teachers, having this amazing tool that can help. And they were starting to notice it because then, you bring, the folks that are attending into a simulation. Yeah. Okay, everybody think about something that, is a little activating, not real high, but maybe if you were to give it like maybe a 3 or 4, and then you walk through that, and then afterwards they sit back and they go, I really do feel different.
Mhm.
Um, so to me, that's part of what I want to bring, this idea, this hope. Um, and based on their own experience that, oh my gosh, I don't understand how this works. I don't understand why this works, but this is working. And so now they're leaning forward. They're leaning into, I want to learn more. I want to test it out more. And that's, to me, that's very exciting when you have people leaning in. Tell me more. I want to help people. I want to help myself. I think that's, for me, very exciting.
It's beautiful, and I really like this. Maybe let's just do it. Let's just go through it. I open my heart. I open my mind to learning. Let's just, for those who are watching and listening, maybe just for that moment. So if you want to guide us, the audience, through it again. So what you just did with your class of teacher.
Okay, so regardless of, kind of where you are right now, I'm just going to ask everybody to take a nice deep breath in and let it go. And you can leave your eyes open or you can close them, whatever feels good and right to you. And you can haven on your face very gently, and haven with your hands, palm to palm, or from your shoulders down to your elbow. And if you know this, you can say it with me. I open my mind to learning.
Open my mind to learning.
I open my heart to friendship.
Open my heart to friendship.
I choose to feel safe,
I choose to
comfortable,
feel safe, comfortable,
and kind.
and kind.
And you can, repeat that and make it as personal as you want. You know, maybe it's your own learning. I open my mind to learning. I
Mm,
open my mind to learning how I can better relate to somebody else. You know, Opening your heart to friendship.
mm,
Some people are not, they don't love themselves. Maybe
mm,
they need to become friends with themselves.
mm,
And then the last three, it really depends on the person. I choose to feel safe. I believe the sense of safety is critical. That's like number one.
mm,
Comfortable, comfortable within yourself, comfortable with your thoughts, your feelings, your physical, and kind, kind to yourself and
mm.
kind to others. I think we need kindness in this world. But those, all of those can change based on.
Whatever the words are, I actually, it reminds me of this. The kindness was just really speaking to me, and I was watching and following the Walk of Peace by the monks through the United States, and there was that. Today I choose. I think there was something about it. Today I choose to be peaceful, or I choose to be peace. And it's just so lovely to have this reminder and also really bring it to the body. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for inviting me to do that. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, coming to an end, is there anything you would love us to know or something you would like to bring in which hasn't been said yet?
Um, Not that I can think of. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess I would simply say, havening, it's really good to start with yourself,
Mm,
before you bring it to others.
mm,
As a trainer, as a practitioner, you need to make sure that you are well regulated
mm,
um, before you engage with somebody else. And we can get regulated by havening
mm,
ourselves,
mm,
and it is okay. It's really good to reach out to another practitioner, to say, I need help. Can you work with me? Because I think sometimes when we're trying to activate our thinking mind, when we're having a problem, then there's this conflict because we've got our thinking mind that's dealing with the problem, and then you're trying to do the havening, which is kind of releasing that. But if you could reach out, to a fellow practitioner, and say, "Can you help me with this?" Yeah, that is brilliant because you're going to learn words, distractions, techniques that other people are using that you're like, can I use
Haven't
that
thought,
too?
haven't thought of that yet.
Yes, yes.
Exactly.
There are so many brilliant people in this community. I'm always learning. I'm always learning. So I would just say that stay curious, keep learning, and be regulated.
Wonderful. Great words. Thank you so much, Marilyn. It was such a pleasure to have you on the Meet the Haveners.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, Simone.